Hey, I found a cool place to go. We can run or we can take it slow. Won't you come with me? Completely off topic. Mama said I never make it big. Well, Mama, I don't really feel that way. Won't you come with me? Completely off topic. Oh, ain't it nice to be completely off topic?
I think we should introduce the show together.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Like two speak as one level?
Oh, we could.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's the camera. Let's go.
Okay.
Hi. And welcome to Completely Off Topic with Susan and Meg, where we talk to Calgary-based female artists who are creating their own bodies of work. If you're still with us, this episode is introducing Meg Farhall as the second host for this season. So you'll maybe notice that Completely Off Topic season 1 was with Susan Serrao, and now it's with Susan and Meg. So yeah, today we're going to talk to each other about sketch comedy. So, Meg, how did we meet?
We met at Company Rogue's Actors Studio.
Yes, we did.
That's where we met.
Yeah.
I was teaching the children's programming and assisting Joe in his advanced film classes.
Yeah.
And you were a student there.
I was part of the master class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was for a couple years, I think.
Were you there? I think you were there for just 1 year when I was there, because then I think you'd moved on. Like you would kind of, you pulled the things you wanted to pull.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd done the things you wanted to learn on that
That's
behalf.
right.
And
Yes.
then, yeah.
I finished. What really happened was that there was a disastrous student in one of my teen classes, and I was like, I don't want to deal with this.
No.
Yeah, it was really upsetting.
So you went from being a teacher to being like, I don't want to be a teacher, to being a film teacher with teenagers. And you're like, no, I'm not going to be a teacher here
Yeah,
either.
it was just like, she was so disrespectful, and her parents were just like really harsh and rude, and there was like no way for us to really even handle it. And of course you don't want to like kick a kid out of an after school class. So we like made it through, and Joe knew what was going on and everything. And we made it through to the end of the semester. And then I was like, it just was breaking my heart. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. And you should find joy in what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're an artist.
Yeah.
If you've chosen to be an artist, you should find joy in what you're doing.
Yeah. And it just had to, like, the behavior just derailed the whole class. So it's just like
fair.
no one had fun. And I was just like, I can't. And there was no way to control that. So I was like, okay, I'm all done here. So anyway, that was that. But then I directed a show, a comedy show with Spirit Fire Theater.
Yes.
And I totally kidnapped you.
You did. I appreciate you. I had actually met David Haysom through, what's it called? The auditions in front of all of the theater.
Oh,
Starts with
it's not
Ignite.
Ignite.
No.
It's Emerge.
Emerge.
Yes.
So I did an Emerge audition representing the Company of Rogues.
Yes.
And David was there with his theater company. And then we met and we were chatting, and then he invited me to his actor workshops.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so in his basement, we would go and you'd bring a monologue or a scene with somebody else, and you'd work on it. And I remember I actually talked to you about it before I went, because you knew David.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying to me, oh my God, you should totally go, but just listen to David. You're like, I don't know who else is going. Don't listen to everybody's opinion, because some people don't even know what they're talking about, but just listen to David.
Yeah.
And so then John Knight was there.
Oh, yeah. You can listen to John.
Oh,
too.
yeah, John's brilliant. And so then I remember that they did a scene together, and then it kind of went out to us, what could we do better? Was there some input? And I was just like, hey, John, what's your moment before? And I was just asking some questions.
Yeah.
And like, maybe that'll help you with that first line or whatever. And then David's like, you're a director. And I'm like, I don't want to be a director.
Yeah.
I want to be an actor.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think that's the thing with choreographer and dancer. I always wanted, or teacher and dancer. I don't want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
I don't want to teach you how to point your feet.
Yeah.
Come to me when you're pointing your feet.
Yeah.
And then I'm happy to choreograph and dance with you.
Yeah.
But I never wanted to be the teacher. Anyhow,
Yeah.
So I did this.
Yeah.
And then I knew they were having auditions for All in the Timing and 15-Minute Hamlet.
Yes.
And then I knew you were going to be directing it. And I was just so pumped. I'm like, oh, I know there's only one spot for a female because you wanted 2 males and a female. And I was like, oh, I hope. And at that time, I was also hanging out with Megan, and she had me in her short film.
Yes.
Because she would hang out sometimes and watch and have beers after and stuff. And she was so fun and lovely.
Yeah.
And then anyhow, and then I auditioned. And then afterwards, I was like, they're like, we want to offer you the role. And there's another girl. And I'm like, at first, I was like, did they include her because I wasn't good enough for all of them? Or did they include, like, what? And then I was like, shut up. You both got a spot. They liked both of you. Now you're both in the show. And then I was like, met Jamie, met Jacob.
Yeah.
It was such a good show.
Yeah, because the original track was going to be Dave's track, Jacob's track, and then your track was originally supposed to be a male track.
Oh.
And then Jamie's was the female track. So it was going to be 3.
Because I did play Ramon, which was a man.
And then I was like, no, I think that we should have 2 and 2. And let's shuffle it around. And so then that's how it changed.
Oh. So you did kidnap me.
I totally kidnapped you.
Thank
I was like,
you.
I want this actor. And and then and Dave was like, yes, I see the vision. Let's do it.
Yeah. And I remember the audition was ridiculous.
I think I asked you if you would wear leather pants.
Maybe. That's not the weirdest thing.
How soon into the process did I ask you that? Because I wanted Ramon to be in leather pants.
I think you asked me if I had leather pants. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I have these like faux pleather.
And I was like, you're hired, kid. You're going places.
Yeah. And you got a wardrobe. We're good.
Yeah.
And what's your cup size? I'm just kidding. But I remember the audition because I had this, I forget the audition now, like the piece, the monologue I had. But you're asked us if we could do it as a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
And so I was a teacher in a school or whatever, and I was yelling at the kids at different things. And then I was trying to have the kids play and do stuff.
Yeah.
And so then I just made this one segment, me like jumping around to the ground as an orangutan, and I'm like, oh my God, you're bleeding.
Yeah.
So it was an easy one for me to incorporate it into, which I was thankful for.
It was really interesting asking, because I asked that to everybody because we had that part where everyone was going to have to be a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
And so everybody I asked to be a chimpanzee, and like it was really like who was willing to try and who wasn't. It wasn't even about who was the best chimp.
Come on, I was pretty.
You were very good.
I was pretty good chimpanzee.
Yes. But it was also like the willingness to play and risk, because there were some folks who were like, okay. Monkey. And I was like, oh, you have a different path than this project. Yeah.
Well, because we spent the first rehearsal just being chimpanzees.
Just being chimps and watching chimp stuff.
chimps
Yeah.
And figuring out our hands.
Yeah.
And how we put our weight and
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
It was very cool.
Yes. And then we had you in the back smoking in that tire the whole time. Oh, I forgot about that.
And I just like would every now and then I use my foot and push
Yes.
push something, and I would just smoke, and then I would like flick, and I knew people were looking at me.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what's she gonna do? And I did nothing the whole time.
Yeah. It was so good. And then my favorite quote that Louis B has ever quoted about any of my work ever was about that show, which was, he described the directing as, and I have this on my Instagram as my like personality, you know, it is unbridled nonsense with brazen confidence.
That's exactly
That
what
is
it was.
what he said, how he described my directing. And I was like, well, he got it. That's exactly what I was going for.
Thank you, Louis. You were paying attention.
Yeah. He giggled the whole time. I was
He
sitting
was.
behind
He
him.
did not giggle.
He liked
He
it,
guffawed.
Yeah, he did. It's nice to make him laugh.
Yeah. He's very generous.
Yeah.
My brother, Dave, does not laugh so easy.
Oh, okay.
And he does not, he can go to, he's really good friends with Joel Cochran.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So he would go to a lot of my plays and be like, this and this, or I'd go to play with him and he'd be like, yeah, this was a little whatever,
Yeah.
blah, blah, like was never really impressed with anything.
Yeah.
And that one, he laughed so hard that he missed sections. He's like, I don't know what happened after this because I was crying and I was like bursting out laughing. And I'm like, yes. Because for those of you who don't know, we did Shakespeare 15-minute Hamlet.
15-minute Hamlet as chimpanzees.
As chimpanzees, and there were 4 of us. And so we had multiple characters. And the way we changed characters, we had one item. So Laertes had a baseball cap.
Yes.
Gertrude, I had this like golden, this red band with a jewel.
Yes.
And then Horatio, I think, had a helmet.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Or Benvolio, I don't know which one I was.
Horatio.
Horatio.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but we would go outside of the tires and we'd be chimpanzees because we were waiting to go on stage.
Yes.
And then when we came inside the tires, we were on
You
stage.
were Shakespearean
and then we
actors.
were Shakespearean. But we are still like David's king.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then what I loved doing was this song when he went away he gets like sent away to England or whatever, and then you spit the water.
We spit water right into Jacob's face.
mouth.
From either side, because Jamie and I had I forgot about that.
And
We had
that was the ocean.
Yeah, we had the fabric and we did this with the ocean, and then a certain part we spit in his face.
Yeah.
And we dropped it and went away because we were done.
It was
that was our part.
time, so we were felt free to spit water into
We never
each other's
thought
faces.
that you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what a lark. That was so fun.
It was so fun. My Louis B. Hobson thing for that one, my quote was, at the time, my last name is Roland.
Oh yeah.
Roland's death scenes, were classic Carol Burnett shtick.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yes.
It was so awesome.
Yes.
I was like, well, thank you.
He got it. Like, it was just so fun to do such an outrageous show. I mean, it was Dave's idea to do 15-minute Hamlet as the chimpanzees.
Oh, amazing.
And it was just like the whole thing. It was just so absurd.
I wish
so
we could
fun.
have done it more. Like, I wish it would have toured, or we could have done it in like a big theater that was sold out. Like, I think people would have been dying.
Yeah.
After that, I went and saw Rosencrantz
and Guildenstern are dead?
Thank you. Yes. And I was so underwhelmed.
Oh, really?
Because I was like, this is the comedy?
Right.
Like, come on, elevate. Let's do something with this.
Yeah, I didn't end up getting to see that one. I can't remember what was going on, but I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
But it's one of my favorite movies. Like, I love Tom Stoppard and
I love Tom Stoppard. So funny.
yeah,
The things he picks from Shakespeare and makes it into a hysterical story.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah.
And then what did we do?
And then what happened?
Ageless.
Oh, yeah, then we did Ageless.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you had the vagina wand thing.
Yeah, I did.
Oh my God,
And I had an Eastern European accent.
Yes.
And I did my hair all like,
Yes.
yeah, and I had this thing in Stacy's mouth because I was trying to work on the collagen, but I also talked about how it also works on your vagina.
And Stacy's I remember she has like this thing in her cheek and she's like her little eyebrows and eyes looking around. It's like such a great shot.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nadine, she directed that.
Yes. Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is just going to be us name dropping.
Oh, yeah. And Kirsten was in that. Oh, it was so fun.
Yeah.
They wrote such a fun script.
Yeah. And Light Factory shot it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
a good
fun.
one. Then
Then.
I think the Great Break happened.
Oh, the Great Break. Yes.
And then
Sketchy Beavers.
Sketchy
You directed
Beavers. Yeah.
Pollen.
I did Pollen.
That's a sketch comedy group that I had with Jamie Michelis.
Yeah.
And you came in to direct Pollen, which was about bumblebees, which we talked about a little bit in another episode.
Yeah. And then I ended up having a couple years where I was in and out, back and forth in California because my sister wasn't well. So I wasn't as present in the neighborhood. I wasn't around as much. Luckily, she has survived that part of her journey.
Lovely.
Which is great. And so, yeah, so then now we've started cooking up our other ideas again.
Yeah. And I remember when you were going through your divorce, then it was like, you were like, so, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
I have something I can help you with.
Yeah. I remember being like, I don't know anyone else, like of my close gal pals who had been through that experience.
And with kids, I think
And
it's
with
different
kids,
when you have kids.
So I was like, hey, I know this is weird, but did you want to unpack some trauma with me?
Oh my God,
I'd love to know about it.
Oh my God, I love, my favorite thing is when people want to talk about my divorce. I'm just like, let's just talk about this person that I loved more than anything in the world and how we just tried to kill each other. Oh, through lawyers. Let's just talk about that. It's amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. What a weird thing.
It is.
But I'm glad we live in a world where like we can change our mind. Like there was a time where that wasn't the case.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like people are often like citing divorce rates as like the downfall of civilization. But it's like, no, there's as many unhappy marriages as there were 100 years ago. It's just we have options now.
Yeah. We don't have to rely on being property.
Yeah. Well, and also like from a men's perspective too, like they don't have to be like, well, I said I would take care of you till you die, even though
make
you're
my
the
choice.
worst.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally. Goes
all of
both
that.
ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Even honestly, like with Peter and I, it's like he has this wonderful partner, and they would not have had a baby together if we didn't. You know,
Yeah.
if we stayed together, like it works out.
Yeah.
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 So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
And then you directed Got MILF for me.
oh
the
yeah,
live, the live version.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which was so
That was
fun.
so fun. That was
so
so
dumb.
so crazy. But it was such good like, and when I say practice, I don't mean like practice kicking the soccer ball. It was good practice in terms of like your art making, like skill building kind of, like, you know how like a doctor runs their practice, like,
Yeah.
or a lawyer has a practice. Like it's that, but that's what I mean by practice. In that it was like such an important thing to incorporate into your art making.
Yeah.
Is that experimentation of material.
And the feedback.
Yes.
Because from 2020, COVID, and I hadn't been performing in front of I've done improv and stuff like that, but my sketch I'd never done live.
Yeah.
So writing Sketchy Beavers, and then Sandy and Susan Do Stupid Shit, and then I'd written a whole bunch of other stuff that I wanted to make into Got MILF.
Yeah.
And it was like, you don't get feedback
No.
from YouTube. Every now and then you get a comment like, I would screw you both. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like an amazing offer.
Yeah.
Are you in Calgary right now?
Exactly.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this on this is gonna be my new quote on my Instagram. Is from
Louis
that.
B, you're gone.
Yeah,
I like big butts.
yeah,
YouTube member since
yeah.
19 something. When
Yeah.
did YouTube start? Anyhow,
I don't know.
yeah. So it was nice to be like it was a great audience through the Kinkanauts,
Yes,
right?
that was an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, and Sarah was Sarah was the artistic director at the time.
Yeah.
She was actually on season 1
Oh.
of this show.
Yeah.
And anyhow, so she wasn't gonna, I applied to produce the show, and she's like, I don't know, if we have a lot of people applying, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but I want to go to Toronto Sketch Fest with this, and I'd love to workshop it beforehand. And she's like, okay,
Yeah.
for sure. Like, you're real about it.
You got a plan.
And then when I went and did it, she was the first one to come up to me and go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, what was that? And you pushed it. You pushed it so far. And there was a point at the end, the last monologue that I did, or the last stand-up bit I did, where everybody thought I was going to masturbate on stage.
Yes, everyone was like, there was this moment where they were like with you, and then they were like, are we gonna see something extra graphic? Like, yeah,
Yeah, and I had never clicked in that that was even,
what they would think.
no.
Yeah.
And then afterwards I came up to you and I'm like, oh my God, people thought I was going to do this. And you're like, yes, they did.
Yeah.
Because you felt it in the collective.
Yeah.
Whereas I was just actually going to propose to my clitoris.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes, I feel like that's just a logical way.
Why would you think anything else? You know,
Why
but
would
that crowd,
Yeah,
they took it.
they
They
were-
took it in a different direction.
They were dirty.
Yeah.
Dirty birds.
Yeah. But no, that live, that feedback from a crowd is so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really fun. And then you videoed it so that I
Yeah.
could watch the audience cringing. Like there was one guy on the edge of the camera and it was during yoga flow when I'm farting
yeah,
all over the
yes.
stage and he would just be like this and his leg just kept coming up and he kept going like this. And then you could just see him laughing and it would just
Yeah.
release.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that must have felt good.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was fun. That was a fun project.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we did that.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then we did this.
Yeah.
And we're writing,
Oh yeah, we're
series.
writing a series, which is going to be amazing.
oh my God.
Yeah.
You're going to be just so in love with me forever.
We're in cahoots. We're in art making cahoots.
We are.
Yeah.
Because we both love comedy.
Yeah.
I think that, and so the thing I love about chatting with you is that when we go for coffee or lunch or whatever, it's like we do this. We sit and we chat, and it's like, but it's never about work. It's not even about theater or art.
Yeah.
It's like, my kid did this, or
Yeah.
my best friend, I'm going through this thing with my friend, or I'm
Yeah.
going through, and it's like, or dating or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's so much to talk about.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like a dead silence would be perfect right here where we have nothing to talk about. But I'm sure we can think of something.
I love both of our like willingness to like crank the weird button right off. It's like, let's turn that one up to 11.
Yeah, let's make everyone very uncomfortable.
Yeah. What could we use as the poo substance in your yoga pants?
It was a washcloth.
It was a washcloth.
And it was funny because when I did it, for those of you who haven't seen Yoga Flow, it is filmed and it is part of
the
God
link
Milk.
is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chad, you're amazing editor.
Yeah.
So I am like in a yoga squat where both my knees are up here and I'm pushing like this, and then I start pooping my pants. And so there's a shot from behind my butt. Sally Chachik is doing this. And I have to take a cloth and push it down the front of my pants. And the first couple times we did it, it didn't read on camera.
Yeah.
So then I had to like keep like shoving it further
So
and
far,
further
yeah.
back and so far, and it just looks the most disgusting
It's
thing ever.
perfect.
And then your vocals are
Yeah.
actually featured
Yeah.
as the
I
poo
would more
sounds.
call that Foley than vocals.
Yeah. Can you give us a sample?
A sample?
Yeah.
Give me an emotion, and then I'll match that emotion to the fart.
Okay, how about this is like a really fast one that I'm feeling really good that it's out, okay? Oh. Yeah.
We're in our 40s.
You're in our 40s.
You're in our 40s.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But you are really like, honestly, we're from similar things where we're
Yeah.
from threes. Like I have two
Yes.
older brothers. You have two sisters. You're
Yeah.
the youngest?
Youngest.
Yeah, so you have two older sisters, but
Yeah.
boys and girls are very different.
Yes.
And then I have 4 boys and you have 1 girl. So
Yeah.
we're both parents, but it's very different.
Very, very different. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a new phase of parenting. You know, the thing about parenting where like you have a phase and then you figure it out.
Oh, and then it's
But
gone.
then they grow and change and it's a new phase.
It's like that quick. It's like we have
Yes.
got this sorted.
It's like,
Boom.
I know how this works. And then it changes.
Yeah.
So anyway, the new phase that we're in, I feel like kind of between 8 and 12 is a pretty sturdy, pretty steady little phase.
Did you have Susanna changing from being super cute to feeling like she maybe still is cute but doing weird things?
Yeah, and now we're in this 12-year-old zone.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different, it's this adolescence.
It's very different.
And it's very different. But it's also exciting to see her personality in a different way, like to see her making sense of the world in a different way and seeing, you know, the lights are coming on more and more about the world around her. And I love that.
Yeah.
It's- yeah.
I found the jokes became
Yeah, the jokes are getting
funnier.
really good.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, oh, you clicked these things together.
Oh yeah, and she's really good at impersonations. I started taking her to some yoga classes, and so we went to this. I called it the studio and made sure that they would take her because she's just 12.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, as long as she's not in and out and disruptive to the class." I'm like, "No, she'll
Do the class.
She'll do the class."
Yeah.
So she like powered through and did everything. I was so proud of her. But there was a guy in the class. It was one of these like legacy classes where everybody's been there for 100 years.
Yeah.
And there's this guy in the class who was like, I called him to her bathing suit man because he was just wearing his bathing suit, his tiny little bathing suit.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you know the guy in his bathing suit? She's like, yeah, he was doing yoga in his bathing suit. And I was like, yeah, that's what it was. So anyway, he was like totally powering through, but I also think he tooted out a toot.
Oh.
So she was like, Mom, this yoga thing is nuts. Like there's
Yeah.
people tooting, people doing it in their bathing suits.
Yeah.
And then the yoga like teacher himself was a man, which she wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So then she was like, and the yoga instructor himself. And I was just like, oh yeah, she's got this new yoga man character. She did it. Like she told him back to me and I was like, oh yeah, this was good. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So that's cool to like do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Together with her that like before it was always like you're looking for kids stuff to do.
Yeah.
Right. And we still do kids stuff, but now we can do some kind of other stuff too. So I like that.
Yeah.
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 Kids.
Oh my God. But yeah, girls to boys, I have no idea what it would be like with boys.
Well, I find like, there's similarities with my boys, but there's differences too. I just feel like Nash is in that stage. He's 9.
Yeah.
And he's in that stage of like, we went to Sonia DeLeo's birthday.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I put my shoe on your leg on the couch? And I'm like, yeah, you're not cute anymore. Like
Yeah.
you gotta, like that's That's not funny.
Yeah.
And so now we do this thing with him, just like in the past few days. I'm like, is that annoying or is that funny? And then he started doing it back to me. He's like, Mom, is that annoying? Or is that funny? And I'm like, it's funny.
Yeah.
It is funny. If you don't see the funny, we're doing something wrong here. Yeah.
It takes time for them to figure that stuff out.
He gets
though.
it. He knows it's funny or that it's annoying. And he knows how to call it.
Well, and when you're the littlest one, you know, it's hard to, because you're also always trying to be invited
Yes.
to the bigger kids stuff.
Yeah.
So it's quite like
weird-
that was my experience being the youngest one.
Yeah, you want to be included in all the older stuff, but at the same time, I feel like he's missing out on the little kid stuff that Jace got to do for so many extra years.
Yeah.
Nash has kind of almost had to be an adult where, like not adult, we actually let him, we don't let him, but he is who he is all of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like interesting to see the difference between them.
Yeah.
But you know what? We only have a couple minutes left, and we are talking about sketch comedy for this one.
Sketch.
So you started.
I did.
You were a founder.
I was a founder of the Late Late Breakfast Show with Amos Altman, Gavin Williams, Justin Michael Carrier, James C., Erin Walsh at the time. She moved to Canmore. Amanda Leo was in our first show, and she's a teacher now. And that was the first crew in 2006. They're still doing shows. The last couple of years, like I said, I haven't been able to do shows because I've been doing so much other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're still doing it, and I'm still involved, like on the kind of admin side of things.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I can get back and do another sketch show. But yeah, we worked really hard to create absurd, inclusive comedy.
Yeah.
And just really like figure out and test, like, when do you crank the absurd button off? What are those sketches about? And then what are the sketches about that are like character based, like fish out of water kind of stuff? And we kind of had that. And then what's the order? What does the audience need? And really like how to develop those relationships. And so it totally shaped who I am as an artist and as a writer, and as an actor.
Yeah.
And what I'm like willing to do and risk taking, and even like how to build safe rooms so that people can just take the big swing, the big risks. Because if you can't take those risks, you don't find out what works, you don't find out what's not, and then you
miss
just get
opportunities.
mediocre stuff.
Yeah.
So you need to make comedy with people that you trust.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't mind looking like a fool.
Yeah.
And falling on your face.
Yeah, or like that it's just okay if you're all falling on your face and you all can laugh about it together and you have each other back up again. Like that's a really special world to create, and like some of my like dearest relationships have been born of that group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
Still around.
Still doing shows every once in a while. It's a little bit tricky. Like Amos was kind of our main director or producer. And he's like back and forth in and out of California now because his partner works she's a university prof in Cali, SoCal.
Ooh.
So he's down there, and then he's also a professor here. So it's shifted and changed also as our lives have changed. Like we started that, we were babies. We were in our early 20s, and we were little kids.
We did that with like Encore Dance Collective. It was started by Alfie Forsch and Melanie Malarchuk. And they're probably I think they're like maybe 3 or 4 years older than me. So like in dance competition, I never danced with them, but they would teach. Maybe they're a little bit older than that. I don't know anyhow. So then I joined Encore Dance Collective, but our thing was always, we need to find young people on the board who can take over. Like not take over right now, but mentor, bring up, and then they need to bring on young people.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like you always have to be bringing in new company members that can learn what we've done, have new innovative ideas, have a pulse on what's going on with the new dancers.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we would just hire our friends all the time.
Yeah.
Because that's who we know, but we don't have a pulse on the upcoming, on the 18-year-olds and stuff like that who want to do pre-professional dance.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you all just,
and
you have families and
that's
kids.
exactly, and that's exactly what happened is like through the years as we maintained the company, then we obviously invited in lots of people who also became core ensemble members, like Ayla Steven, Jenny Koss, Devin Dubnik. I want to like make sure I get everybody's name. Pat Quinn, Dan Perry, Matt Glessing. Like there were so many, Jeremy Mason that we that were part of that core growth.
Yeah.
and comedy, like just wanting to make silly fart jokes. It's fart-based comedy. It really is deep. And
Isn't
I
it
don't know
all
if I
comedy?
can say this word, but like jizz. It's jizz-based comedy.
I think that's
Is that
PG.
okay?
Because if you don't know what it means, it's totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those were the cornerstones of the comedy.
Jizz and
One
farts.
time I wrote this sketch called Celebrity Lozenges. And so the idea was that it was a lozenge for your throat made out of,
No,
yeah.
don't.
And so then as it became a more popular product, then celebrities would endorse, and it would be then like you could get
There.
Brad Pitt lozenges. Yeah, I wrote that sketch.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was
it's like
really
it's kind
good.
of like based on a dream,
Yeah.
like something like a
Just
goal, a desire,
fantasy.
maybe something you really
Yeah.
wanted in your life.
How the world should be if only it could.
I feel like this is a great place to end.
Yes.
We should finish on a finish.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm so glad that we get to work together on
Me
this.
too.
This is
What a
gonna be fun.
treat. Yeah.
Yay. I love you.
I love you too.
Oh.
Oh.